Illegal aliens are the new transgenders of the progressive left. What do I mean by that? These are the new pawns that the progressive left use in their game of vying for power, political power, and for gain, and for manipulating Christians or the American people into sympathizing with people that they shouldn't. And the latest, if you have not seen, blasted all over social media and the news for the past few weeks, is who they call the Maryland Man. So, who is this Maryland man that has been wrongfully deported in their eyes? His name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he entered this country illegally back in around 2011. I saw a couple of different reports for somewhere around that year, 2011, 2012. He has been called Maryland Man hundreds of times by the mainstream media, who, following the death of Rachel Morin, gave little to zero coverage about her. And someone went through and counted and showed that between CNN and MSNBC, they had referenced him as the Maryland Man rather than his name, or an MS-13 gang member, which he has been confirmed to be over 500 times. In 2019, they issued a deportation order for Garcia. Two separate judges have affirmed that he was an MS-13 or is an MS-13 gang member. He has been known to wear hats that are affiliated with them. He has tattoos that are MS-13 gang symbols. And when he was arrested with pockets full of money and cash falling out, and with also two other known MS-13 gang members. His wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, had a temporary order of protection against her husband back in 2021. This showed that even a direct quote from her that said she was scared to be around him and that he had hit her with his boots, and among many other domestic assaults on that record. Additionally, back in December 2022, Garcia was suspected of engaging in human trafficking by a Tennessee Highway Patrol. 8 people were crammed into the car with no luggage, and for some reason, the FBI ended up telling them to let him go. So they did. And he has been in the country since he was deported in March to El Salvador. A U.S. District Court judge ordered his return, and SCOTUS upheld that order based on the fact that there was an order in 2019 that barred his deportation back to El Salvador because of threats of violence from rival gangs. When Trump met with El Salvador President Nayib Bukele, he declared that he would not send Garcia back. He said, "How can I smuggle a terrorist back into the United States?" Bukele said, adding, "I don't have the power to return him." And I don't remember who this was, but somebody said, how very arrogant of the United States courts to demand El Salvador bring back a terrorist gang member back to the United States. We don't have the jurisdiction to even do that. And Bukele says he also does not have that kind of power. So the media, you can just see the cycle of where they're manipulating your sympathy to be in the wrong place. They keep calling him Maryland Man. They keep referencing him as a father, as a husband, and saying that he was wrongfully deported. And because of this court order barring his deportation for fear of persecution. So here's a short clip of the media referencing him.
A Maryland man thought to be wrongly deported.
Deported Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
A Maryland man wrongfully deported.
A Maryland man who was mistakenly deported.
The Maryland man that was detained.
The Maryland man mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador.
They're not even trying to bring back a Maryland man.
He's a Maryland man.
Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man.
The Maryland man. Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
Again, how many times did they reference Rachel Morin? How many times? Almost zero. Rachel Morin was a constituent of Maryland, an American citizen, and a mother of 5 who was brutally murdered by MS-13 gang members. Senator Chris Van Hollen flew to El Salvador to meet with Garcia and make this very grand show of virtue signaling, saying that he's going to do everything in his power to bring him back. And again, what did he do for Rachel Morin? He gave a statement. That was it. He didn't try to push this narrative of rage or outrage against the border and that it should be closed and that this never should have happened and I'm going to fight for Rachel. No, he made a singular statement, but he was willing to fly across the globe to El Salvador for a gang member that has been violent towards his wife and is a part of one of the most violent gangs in the world. Van Hollen claimed in his statement that Garcia endured an abduction and unlawful deportation. Nothing here to say about the fact that he was in our country illegally in the first place and that he is an El Salvadoran citizen, and insisted that the federal courts ordered the safe return of his constituent. He has the audacity to call him a constituent, but that's actually how they see them because it is their voting base. The senator also said we must urgently continue working to return Kilmar safely home to Maryland. Also stated on MSNBC that this was stealing someone's freedom. You do not have the same kinds of freedom when you break the law. You do not have the same kinds of freedom when you're not a citizen of a country. You don't have the same privileges and rights as a citizen does. If you did, then there would be no point in having a border or citizenship at all. So when you break the law as an American citizen, what happens? You have a trial, and if you're convicted, you go to prison and you lose freedoms. So if you don't want threat of persecution from a rival gang, or you don't want to be separated by your family or deported, then don't break the law. Don't be a part of a gang. I'm sorry, I don't have sympathy for someone that is fearful of a rival gang when he chose to join that gang in the first place and to perpetrate violence against innocent people, including his wife. And believe it or not, it gets even better. Listen to Elizabeth Warren's statement.
We do not disappear people in the United States, because here's the thing. If they can disappear Mr. Abrego Garcia, then they can disappear you.
What? Who wrote this? Who wrote this and who approved this? I just cannot imagine sounding so extremely unintelligent and still having the privilege of being a senator of the United States of America. It's incredible, and it's just total fear-mongering that trying to say that they can just disappear you, just any person walking down the street, they're just going to shove you into the back of a car and just disappear you. They're just going to deport you. It's ridiculous. It is insanity. No, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the one responsible for his deportation. He is the one responsible for landing himself in prison. He is the one responsible for the fact that his children now have no father and his wife now has no husband. That is his responsibility. It is not the United States' responsibility, and is certainly not the responsibility of U.S. senators to defend him. And they're trying to say, we're not defending him, we're just defending due process. Well, you had no cares about the border being wide open and the thousands of people dying from that. Not just American citizens, which you should care the most about because those are your constituents, not an illegal terrorist group and a gang member that commits violence. Those are your constituents, but also the actual people trying to come here out of desperation that are being taken advantage of by the cartel. You have no concern for them. The Bible says, do not pity the evildoer. It is wicked to pity someone that has done evil. You do not get a pass because you had a bad upbringing. You don't get a pass because you're a father or a husband. No, if you choose to do this act, you are the one that is responsible, and you should pay the price, and you should receive justice. And he is where he belongs, in an El Salvador prison. This is so disordered. These are disordered priorities. This is disordered sympathy, and we have to think these things through, and we have to protect the American people first. That is the role of the U.S. government. The individual Christian person or individual citizen of the United States, if you encounter an illegal immigrant that is in need, that needs shelter, that needs food, that needs water, that needs clothing, sure, you have the ability to respectfully engage with that person and provide needs for them, that is not the same as the government. They have a different role, and that role is to protect their people from evil and punish evildoers. It's a very brief set of description of what the government is supposed to do. And I think this analogy fits it so well. If you are a parent and you leave your doors wide open at night and you say, yes, everyone, come on in. I'll just take the entire city's homeless population because I hate what's happening to them and it's so sad, and I'll just kick my kids out of the house and I'll allow these people to come in, or I'll allow them to sleep in the room next to my children. Would you do that? Would you be a good parent if you did that? Of course not. And a government is no different. It's just on a larger, massive scale. That is a disordered prioritization. If you are prioritizing especially illegal immigrants over your own constituents. And by the way, they don't actually care about them. This is their voting base, and this is how they get their votes, which will tie into our next segment.